So let's go into psychological suffering.
Right.
What is the cause of psychological suffering?
Mm.
How does it differ from physical pain, physical suffering?
Interesting question. Well, often physical suffering, we'll start with that. That's something that's direct immediately. For example, if I smack you in your head, you're going to feel the pain from it. If you walk on a nail, you're going to feel the pain from it. It's something that's actual. It's something that's happening. It's something that other individuals can witness and see that this event has taken place. Now, when we talk about psychological suffering, what are we talking about? We're talking about a suffering that is caused by thought, a suffering that is caused by feeling or mood, a suffering that is the result of a mind that is identified with the mechanisms that essentially it's supposed to utilize for its own benefit. But now the mind is, or let's say thought, and emotion can act as a detriment for the quality of the life of the mind.
So could we say thought and hyperdrive, overthinking, being overly analytical?
Thought going down let's say thought, not just thought playing itself out over and over again, but a particular order of thoughts playing themselves out over and over again. For example, you can have the thought that I'm the greatest, and that may play over and over again in your mind, and that's not going to bring about psychological or personal suffering. But if I have a thought in my head, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly, then that order of thought is going to produce suffering in myself.
Indeed.
I'm not going to the mathematical equation that results from those series of negative thoughts is going to be a negative mood, a negative state in the body.
So what would be the proper approach, suggested approach to that thought? The practical approach to such a thought as, I am fat, I am ugly, no one likes me, all of my relationships fail, I'm a failure.
The first question is to ask who the hell is doing the talking. That is the first question. When we have thoughts, do we actually intentionally create these thoughts? Or do these thoughts just happen to arise within us as the ocean rises and falls in accord with the attraction power of the moon? Do these clouds flow through us as though the clouds flowing through the atmosphere above us? Or are these thoughts essentially our own? And if they are our own, or if we're going to own up to them as our own, that would imply that we intentionally produced them. And most of the time when we have a thought, it is not so much intentionally produced by our awareness. These thoughts and emotions, they just so happen within us as our brain and nervous system reacts or responds to different stimuli or impressions. As we were saying, these emotions and thoughts, most of them arise within us without our awareness, without the participation, at least, of our awareness in the process of their coming together.
So hold that thought. Do emotions produce thoughts, or do thoughts underlie emotions? Our emotional suffering. We all can affirm and admit that we are the plaything of emotions almost daily. And for many people, 80 to 90% of our day, we're the plaything of emotions. I have a test coming up. My boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't like me. My ass is too big or not big enough. I'm still not over the last breakup. Oh, I really loved her, and I won't find another like her. What did I do wrong? For example.
Well, these thoughts or emotions actually proceed and take place from different mechanisms that make up our brain and nervous system. And these different mechanisms often react to the workings of each other. So sometimes people have said that thought creates emotion, but it's really not so much that thought creates emotion. Thought happens and emotion reacts, or emotion happens and thought reacts. And so it's not that the one creates or generates the other. These are all different currents of psychic activity taking place within our consciousness. These are not the thought didn't produce emotion or emotion produced the thought, but they both act on each other, just as the hormones in our body act on the neurotransmitters and neurons in our brain, and just as the neurons in our brain act on the hormones in our body, which creates a corresponding, often emotional reaction response, or some type of other impulse reaction taking place in the instinctive moving functions of the organism.
I see.
And so
the interplay of thoughts and emotions, how they interact, and how you can change that interplay.
Well, you can direct it. That's a possibility. But in order for there to be directed, there has to be clarity within the individual, him or herself. The point of orientation, their identity of who they realize themselves, who they realize they are, is essential in order for there to be real and lasting change. We can condition thought to function a certain way. For example, you can ship me off to boot camp and sign me up for the army, ship me off to boot camp, and about 2 years of being conditioned by the military, I have a more militaristic mentality, and that's my thought has been conditioned. If I was around and was raised in an environment where people would start raging mad and crazy and very emotional, my emotional life would be conditioned most likely to have a similar representation as that which I saw in my childhood rearing. So these things can be conditioned into us. Now, to break free of that conditioning, you have to realize that you are not your thoughts. You have to realize that you are not your emotions, that these things are transpiring or happening within us without our conscious direction.
This is Desmond Wood signing off, Mind Elevation Nation. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you don't like the videos, leave a comment anyway, because that's how you learn, through feedback, positive or negative. Peace.